Hi, welcome to week 2 of trying to drop the weight that I have on. It's been kind of a tough week for both Owen and myself. On my part, that buggered back is still causing me troubles. And then Owen brought home a flu-y cold kind of a thing, and he graciously shared it with me. Now remember when the kids would go to school and that first month or two, those kids would bring back every cold and flu that ever existed? Well, now Owen is the carrier pigeon of colds and flus and whatnots, and he did bring it home. And so far, Jasmine hasn't caught it, so she's off to school, but him and I are dealing with it. He spent most of the day in bed, and he's having a nap right now. And yeah, that's how this week has been going, and that's been causing issues for me as far as getting the chalet prepped for our guests. We're having our first guests of the season showing up tomorrow at 4. They're from Australia, and they'll be here for 9 days. And so I've been going over to the chalet. I've been working as long as I can, and going back home, taking pain meds, getting myself so that I can come back up here again and keep working. And I'll be relieved when this is all ready for them to show up. Now, as far as my fasting protocols, this week I kind of copied last week. I changed the lengths of time I'm fasting and the lengths of time I'm eating, just to mix things up and confuse my body so it doesn't get used to it, right? So on one day I fasted for 44 hours. That was, well, 1.5 days. Other days I only went 19. Some of my meal eating times lasted for 8-9 hours, and other times only for a couple hours. So just shaking it up and mixing it up. And yeah, this week when I weighed in this morning, I was quite happy. I lost another 3.4 pounds. I think what helped me this week is just not feeling well made so that the appetite wasn't there either. And so it made the fasting really, really easy. So I'm very grateful for that. My big binging day, we ran in to see our accountant and dropped off all our taxes. So that's a weight scraped off our plates. And then we went out for breakfast at lunch, the best meal of the day. And yeah, that's when it kind of started going for almost 8 hours. But I managed to make it work for me, and I'm very happy with the progress. Owen's been busy in the, it used to be greenhouse, and he's been cleaning it up, getting it ready to turn it into a chicken coop. And reading up on all that. And yeah, he's also took a look at the fish that we had in our pond, or have in our pond. The bubblers worked all winter, and he tossed them some food, and the fish came up to get it. So they've survived the winter. So that made us very, very happy. The guests really enjoy coming over to fish when they're visiting in the summer. Now, I've been studying on the whole mechanism in our body about how fasting works for us, what insulin does in our body. And I'll go into the house and I'll set this down so that I can take a peek at some of my notes, because I do find it fascinating, but I have to keep it clear as I talk about it, just so that I don't confuse myself and confuse you. There. I'm inside. It's a little bit warmer. I haven't turned the heat up in this chalet because, yeah, as I get working, I get sweating, so I might as well keep the temperature down. I'll bump it up tomorrow before the guests get here. Now, explaining the insulin reaction in our systems. Now, the way it's supposed to work, if we are all healthy and everything's well with us, the way it's supposed to work, we take in some food, whether it's carbs, protein, whatever you take in, whether it's sugarless pops, it doesn't matter. Your sugar rises, and that gets your pancreas releasing insulin. And the insulin comes in. Now, the hormone insulin, it is a storage hormone. And that explains, well, as your body stores fat, that insulin is the storage hormone, explains the method that your body uses. Now, your insulin will take that glucose, that sugar, and store it temporarily in your liver and in your muscles. And I think that's, let's see here, glycogen. In the muscles is called glycogen. And when these stores are full, well, then it stores it as fat in your body. So it doesn't really matter what you're taking in, it can be stored as fat. Now, over time, this insulin helps bring down the levels of blood sugar in our body. And that's just the natural way to do it. And when your body drops your insulin to a certain level, that pancreas sends out a second hormone. This hormone it counter-regulates, and it's called glucagon. And this glucagon tells your liver to release the kraken, to release the sugars it has. And so then it does. It releases it into your system so that your system can survive, because your body does need sugar, and your brain especially does need glycogen, sugar, to run properly. Now, as these stores get used up, the stores in your liver and whatnot gets used up, well, then it turns to you burning off fat, or gets to access the fat in your system. And these fats break down, and that's called ketones. And then ketones is released in your system, and it feeds your brain, and your brain loves it. And I do know that my storage stores are full, very, very full. I will not starve for a very long time. Now, this is how it's supposed to work. Doesn't always work. Now, quite a few of us don't just have one meal and then nothing. We often just snack and snack and snack, have a meal, have a snack, have a meal, have a snack, kind of like what we were told to do to keep our metabolism high, but that wasn't the case at all. We are keeping our insulin levels high. This causes too much insulin in your system. Now, there's a big word that I discovered in researching all this, and I'm going to try to say it. Anti-lipolytic. Anti-lipolytic. Insulin is anti-lipolytic. Lipolytic means burning fat. Anti means against. It's against burning fat, and insulin being anti-lipolytic, it is a hormone that is against burning the fat in your stores. So if you've got a lot of insulin running in your system, you're not going to be accessing the fat in the stores. Now, this leads to type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, cardiovascular disease, you know, all the crap that happens when we are our age and older. Now, we're told by many people, and I see it online all the time, calories in equals calories out, right? All you need to do is be in a deficit and it'll all be fine. Well, it a lot depends on what you're taking in, how often you're taking it in, and how long of breaks you're giving your body so that the insulin levels can come back down again. Because the only time to access the fat stores is if your insulin is down. If you're snacking all the time, if you're keeping those insulin levels high, it doesn't reach your fat stores. And what happens is, let me see if I explain this, because I was trying to remember. I thought it was so cool how it worked. We are just amazing. If we eat a bunch of low-calorie things or what have you, but we're snacking all day, our blood sugars go up, the insulin comes into our body, and it never ever does go down because we keep bringing food in, right? And that means we can't unlock the fat stores. But let's say you're only taking in a small amount of calories, and your body thinks it's starving. Your brain is thinking it's starving. Then what it does to you is decreases your metabolic rate. That's when it's like you shouldn't be dieting because your metabolism will drop, and that is true. And it's because of your insulin, which is making it so your fat stores can't be reached. And from what I can tell, one of the best ways to handle all this is to use some fasting protocols. I found the last 2 weeks it's been working great for me. And there's a term in there called flipping the metabolic switch. It's when your body goes from tapping into the stores in your liver and in your muscles and switches over to your fat stores and making ketones. That's what they call the metabolic switch. And I'm not doing a whole lot to test myself for that. Poking the finger, trying to find out, or right now it's just a little bit too complicated. I'm just learning all this, and it's very exciting. And I know I was an RN all these years, but RNs don't study a whole lot of nutrition, just like your doctors. Chances are he knows very little. What did I hear when I was studying? Doctors might take one chapter on nutrition in all their studies, and they don't know anything more than what you know. And so you kind of have to research for yourself how this all works, and maybe even teach your doctor a few things. Take food in after you've had a long fast. You take food in, your sugar rises, your insulin rises to counteract that, and it gets brought down again. And then you don't have another meal for a while, like, 19 hours. But your insulin is down, your fat stores have been touched. It opens up your fat stores, that creates those ketones. The ketones goes to your brain and to your body, fueling it all, and your body doesn't think it's starving anymore. It thinks you have plenty on board to feed yourself, and that's why fasting does not affect your metabolic rate. It doesn't drop it. And that's great news for me. And yeah, that's the things that I was studying. And so I'm going to get out of this gear and get finishing this place for tomorrow. I'm very excited for these people that are coming. And I'll work at this in another week and let you know how it goes. Take care.